The word boutique is French, and it means store. In general, boutiques are stores tailored to a certain lifestyle. They have specific audiences and affinity groups. Before we start, I would like to ask our guests to take a minute, introduce themselves to you, and share with us when was the time that they've become aware that they would like to start a business. We'll start with Jessica.
Hi everyone, I'm Jessica Kocurek. I own Willow and Birch here, and the time that I knew I wanted to start a business, I was probably 20, and I wanted to open a salon because where I worked previous, I was by myself all the time. So the people that I worked with worked part-time, they were there like 2 days a week, but then they weren't even booked those 2 days. So most of the time, I worked 6 days a week and I was there by myself. So I simply wanted to open a salon so that I would have a team of people to work with.
Thank you.
It's evolved.
Good morning, I'm Michelle Tjelmeland. I'm the owner of District 23 Boutique here in Springfield. I didn't want to own a business. Actually, my life path was completely different than what I had planned. I went to school to be a school teacher. So my true passion in life was being an educator. I taught 7th and 8th grade language arts here in Springfield for 186 at Franklin Middle School, and I truly loved it. I think like during my 3rd or 4th year, I won Teacher of the Year. I was so involved with my students. We would recreate the classroom like Diary of Anne Frank and her attic, and it was truly my passion in life. And during my 4th year of teaching, I went profoundly deaf while I was pregnant, and I lost my hearing overnight. So my career path quickly came to a halt because I could no longer hear, and therefore I had to reinvent myself. So I went back to school and I got my master's degree through the University of Illinois. It was their first online course that they offered way back, probably about the time, maybe even before, I don't know, when were you guys born? What year? Okay, yeah, so this was 1999. So in 1999, I went back to U of I in Champaign and I got a double master's degree in computer technology and education. And I started a website design company. That made sense because I could no longer hear, but if I could develop websites and computer technology, it was right during the 2000 .com bubble and boom. And so I still do that today, but in addition to doing website design and development, logo design and marketing, I also have my boutique and my foundation, and we can get a little bit more into that a little bit later. So, you know, sometimes what you plan for in life throws a curveball to you and you gotta roll with it. So that's what I've done.
I'm Laura Camp. I'm the owner of Simply Fair. It's also a little boutique here in town. I am an RN by trade, and I guess the day I decided I wanted to start a business was not so much I wanted to start a retail business as I got tired of riding in a ship where someone else was making the rules, and for some reason it couldn't turn on a dime when I could see exactly where the turn was. And so it was that lack of autonomy within my career that drove me to reach for something that put me in charge. Maybe I'm a control freak, I don't know, but that's where it began.
Okay. Owning your own business, and for Michelle, for Laura, that was not something that you wanted to do initially, but now that you do it, can you share with us a little bit, what is the day-to-day life of a business owner is, and is it what you had imagined it to be?
Oh, the glamour. Yes. You know, I speak for myself, of course. I am excited to be able to create the environment that I am able to create. One of the things with boutique style retail is we swim upstream really hard against a 19-inch screen in your couch online shopping. And so part of what we do when we create that little local boutique is it's not just what's in our store, because that is pretty much accessible. It's who is in our store, the feeling that's in our store, how you're greeted when you walk through the door, how we care for you. And so that portion of what we've been able to create at Simply Fair is probably the part that drives my passion the hardest.
Okay, what was the question again, sorry.
The question was, now that you're a business owner, what is the day-to-day life of a business owner, and is it
Yes.
what you
Okay.
imagined it to be?
Well, so it's not. And I don't think life is ever what we think it's going to be. You know, I work probably 75 hours a week, like the two people to the left and right of me as a business owner. My stores are open 7 days a week, so I literally work 7 days a week. In addition to that, what makes it a little bit more challenging for me is I don't just wear the boutique owner hat. I'm also the founder of the Cochlear Implant Awareness Foundation. So my foundation is the only foundation in the world that does what we do. We give cochlear implant equipment to deaf people that cannot afford it and that don't have insurance. So I run that. And then I also run my marketing company, and I'm getting ready to start another company. So I have to be able to shift gears very quickly. I have, 47 employees. So I was just saying last night when I left work at 8:30, my to-do list that I walked in to work on Monday with has not changed. That list is still, I've not gotten to anything that I needed to do this week because of everything that's going on. But I'll tell you what, I would not trade it for the world. I absolutely love what I do.
And Jessica, do you share the same sentiments?
Yes, I mean, and Michelle and I talk a lot. Her and I are very good friends, and we text all the time. And it's like we roll in at 10 o'clock at night, and people don't a lot of times on the outside see what it takes to make it all happen in the background. And a lot of people think it's like, well, you're only working when you're open. Or like I get all the time, well, you only do hair 2 days a week. Like in their mind, I'm rolling around in piles of money on my days off. Like it doesn't work that way. So I think that I never anticipated that it would be as much work as it is, but I love it. And all of us up here have multiple businesses or multiple streams of revenue or things that we're involved in. And a real entrepreneur, in my opinion, is constantly chasing the next thing. And it doesn't mean that you're not happy with what you've created, but your mindset is very different. It's constantly more. So Laura, which I just found this out this morning, I didn't even know, bought Studio on 6. So now she has Simply Fair and Studio on 6 down here. Michelle listed off all of her businesses. So I obviously, you guys know me a little bit, I've talked with you, but I own the salon. I did do hair. I'm not, as of February, I'm starting a new job where I'll be a consultant for salons all over the state. So I won't be in the salon day to day. But then I've also been an educator for years. So I think we all have different paths where you're constantly chasing that next thing. And as exhausting as it can be and as much work as it is, if you don't, I love what I do, and I don't care that I work 80 hours a week because I love it. And your friends, your family, no one else will ever understand it like another person in business will. So, my mom has worked the same job forever and is content with that. And every person's different. My brain's not wired like that. So I'm constantly chasing the next thing, and my mind keeps changing as to what can be or what is possible. So.
And I think to go along with that, I do CrossFit 3 days a week, so I was at CrossFit, and a lady that I used to teach with is in my CrossFit class with me. And she said, Michelle, you go 90 miles an hour all the time, you need to slow down. And I said, there is no slowing down, because you can't slow down, especially if you're a business owner and an entrepreneur. You don't look back, you look forward, and you gotta keep plugging ahead.
I feel like I take a day a quarter. Like one day a quarter. And it'll be like a Sunday where like maybe my husband and I go have brunch, or like I chill and watch 3 episodes of Netflix or something. But for the most part, I'm constantly doing something. Like even at home, if I am watching TV or doing something when I get home in the evening, I'm on my phone creating a social media plan for next week, or texting employees about different things that they're working on, or whatever it may be. So you have to love it. So whatever you choose to open a business in, you better have a passion about it, because if you don't, you will hate your life. Very much so.
Laura, congratulations on buying Studio on 6. So how did you make that decision? What led you to decide that this is a venture I'd like to go forward with?
Well, Simply Fair is international artisans. And it's funny how paths cross and life gets interwoven. Our little business, Simply Fair, those international artisans, it looks very, very handmade. There's a whole lot of it that's handmade, and so what that would do is it would attract area artists into our shop who would say, hey, can I have some shelf space? Can I put something in your little store here? Well, that's not what that is, and so I would refer out and refer out. And because of those referrals, Alicia Bibb and I had been friends in a past life. I was a pink Cadillac driver with Mary Kay for a long time.
You
And-
were?
Yeah.
Mary Kay.
As we said, there are multiple layers, you know, and which is my initial boutique experience. That's a boutique that you run out of your home, but that's where you learn all that customer service and display and life. Anyway, when Alicia approached us as to whether or not the Studio on 6 would be something we'd be interested in, it comes alongside of what we have. That's area artists, and when I mean area artists, we go as far north as I-80 with our area artists, but we're talking the Illinois area, and it's handcrafted, hand-created artistic items, and so it was something that our heart already resonated with, and so that's where that decision came from. There's also economies of scale that entrepreneurs get, and I don't know if economies of scale have come across your path as far as a definition, but economies of scale is where you take one person and they're already doing this, so to do this isn't as big of a deal, but that creates that secondary revenue stream, and when we're swimming upstream against all that happens with your economy and life, then that secondary revenue stream and the ability to leverage economy of scale makes sense. And so the Studio on 6 has a lot of that going for us that we're hoping to leverage.
Could you share with us a little bit what is Simply Fair, and when you think of your business, and that's a question I'll ask you as well, when you think of your business, when you think of your customers thinking of your business, what do you think are the things that define your shop, or what kind of brand do you think resonates with your customers?
The brand that Simply Fair is, just on the surface, is we are a fair trade boutique, which means that the items in our boutique are vetted, no slave labor, no child labor, safe working conditions, easy on the environment, building schools and hospitals and those kind of things, with what we call the fair trade premium, and that's the difference between the fair trade price, which pays the woman or the man who created that product a living wage. The difference between the fair trade price and the selling price sometimes seems a little off. Like you'll look at a basket and go, $69 clothes hamper? Well, the difference between the $69 and the $49 that would typically buy at a fair trade wage, that $20 is creating a hospital or a school or a medicine program or an immunization program or whatever it is that we need to create in the area where those artisans are working. So that's the face brand. That's the initial, when I walk up to the door and see the educational flyer that's there, that's what Simply Fair is. What we're trying to create in Simply Fair is not only that fair trade boutique, but a place that you feel like when you walk through the door, it feels like home. It feels like you're welcomed there. It feels like that is a family that has created product for you, and you're just another member of that family on this side of the pond.
And Michelle?
So District 23 Boutique, we have 2 locations. In Springfield, we're at the corner of State and South Grand, and then I have a location in Rochester as well. We are a women's clothing boutique. 80% of our sales are clothing, shoes, jeans, accessories. And then we have small giftables like candles, body products, I don't know, a little bit of home decor. And I don't know, I feel like my brand is very similar to kind of what you're saying. We're all about creating an awesome customer experience. So from the time that you walk in, there's a certain smell that my store has. And it's a candle. It's our #1 candle line. Just knows she comes in and gets that candle all the time. But so from our packaging, so we have custom, tissue, we have custom bags, we serve beverages. So anything from coffee, we have a hot chocolate bar, we have beer, we have soda, we have tea. We serve lunch to our customers. So the last 8 weeks, every Wednesday, we serve a free lunch to our customers. And customers can come in and they can eat and they can shop on Wednesdays for a couple hours if they want. So it is not only just selling things, because as you mentioned, you can get clothes anywhere. And with the internet, it's very difficult to compete. We do have a website, but what we want to do is bring those customers in and create an experience where they think of us first when they need to shop for women's clothing.
Jessica.
What was the question?
So when your customers think of your brand,
Oh, yes.
what do you think? What resonates with them?
I think I always have a hard time differentiating because obviously our building is huge and we have multiple businesses happening in here. Of course, we are talking about boutiques today, but I think that a lot of times people don't even resonate Willow and Birch with the boutique. You know, the core of our business has always been the salon, and that's how we built our reputation. And obviously, customer service plays a huge role in that component. So adding the boutique when we moved downtown just simply made more options for the clients that were already here. And then with being downtown, we've had a lot of foot traffic come in because they see clothes in the window or different things. They come in to shop and they're like, oh, what's upstairs? So it kind of supplements or complements, if you will, the other businesses that we have going on. But I do think customer service is definitely like our number one thing, and creating that experience for people, because unlike the boutique world, the salon world, like you can't get your hair cut on Amazon.
Right.
You can buy any item that is sold in our boutique, you can buy. Probably 90% of our beauty products, you can probably find them on some website, some third-party retailer. But we have to create an experience where people choose to buy it from us and choose to get out of their car, park a block away, walk here, or walk up from underground, and make a conscious choice to buy from people that they relate to, that understand them, that give them advice, that give them the experience they're looking for.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Laura, the question is for you, as the three of you have mentioned Amazon and online shopping, but your store is Simply Fair. You have a unique proposition to customers, and these are the people who care about fair trade and organic products. So do you feel that the consumer that's shopping on Amazon is that same consumer that might come to your store, or are those different groups that you would be, they'd be more focused on the offline shopper than the online shopper?
If I only attracted the folks that were willing to separate out the good, the bad, and the ugly, we'd never make it. So I spend my entire building of that experience also layering in the education. You can't beat people over the head and shoulders with the facts about what Amazon is, how Amazon might work, what fair trade is, because they're there to shop. It's great that it's fair trade. It's great that it's supporting our local economy, but one of the things that we've really tried to back away from a little bit, because I feel like people are feeling a bit browbeat, is that real hardcore shop local. It's very important. The three of us know it's very important, but sometimes you have to earn it too.
Mm-hmm.
In fact,
Agreed.
all the time you have to earn it too. And so that, I feel like I'm talking right to you. I'm sorry, gang. That is one of the things that we've worked really hard to do, is to make it a choice that just is the easiest choice to make, is to come and shop at Simply Fair, or come and shop at District 23, or come and shop at Willow and Birch. And golly, I love what you said about you can't get your hair cut online. We're the reason, gang. What you got to understand is, you all are hearing all of this, I'm going to. And that's one of the things that I love about when you get two powerful people sitting right beside you, is you can just soak it in. My husband's like, you're getting up at the bum crack of dawn. I don't do the bum crack of dawn. It just doesn't happen. I do 3 a.m., but I don't do 5 a.m. Anyway, so this is very engaging for me, so I'm very excited about it. I'm sitting here going, what can I offer at Simply Fair? Because I'm really not licensed to cut hair. Okay,
Flu
so
shots.
I did flu shots.
They
Walgreens
can't get that
is
on
right
Amazon.
across the street.
Dang it.
Anyway, so I lost that question somewhere along the line. So,
We're not with it today.
That's
I'm
okay.
fired. We are with it. This is what creative energy looks like when it's unbridled at 8 a.m. What now?
So the question is, was how do you perceive the online competition? Because you're trying to, the consumer, the shopper that's going for the fair trade, the organic products, they're more of a very conscious shopper.
Right.
Correct?
We say it simply fair, that, and please nobody be offended, just understand that we say it simply fair. We attract the tree hugger to what would Jesus do. We are a very broad group. We are completely red to completely blue. It just, because of what simply fair is, people are driven to buy fair trade for all different reasons. It's the right thing to do, it's the best thing for the economy, it's local, it's good for our environment, all of those things drive it. And so that's great, but there are also places that you can find online, and if you're anywhere on being careful about the environment and you're on social media, they know you. You see the ads all the time. How many metal straws have come up on your stream? So all of those are out there too. Again, it comes right back to the blue 19-inch screen or the little bitty screen or whatever it, and your butt in the crack of the couch versus that experience that is enough to motivate you to come on in.
Michelle, you're tech savvy and you build websites. Do you use this knowledge and that skill that you have to create your own marketing strategies and kind of drive consumers to your own online platforms and eventually to your store?
Sure, so I do. So we have a photographer that does all of our website photos in store and then on a white backdrop for our website. It is very time consuming, it is very expensive, and it does not translate like a normal person would think it would translate. So we do a fair amount of online business, but oddly, those orders are from local people. And then they come in and want to do in-store pickup, which is what we want. Because we want the customer, they know, we've trained our customer, we only get 6 of this top, so if you don't get it now, it's gonna be gone. So they'll order it on the website, and then they wanna come in and do an in-store pickup because they're saving on shipping, it's free in-store pickup. But then when we get them in the door, that's when we give them the customer experience that I was talking about. And then at that point, we hope they touch and feel more of our merchandise. One of the big things that I always try to remember to do, so, you know, we're caught up in our own lives. So like for me, being deaf and having cochlear implants, having a deaf daughter who also has cochlear implants, that's my life story. So I know it, obviously, I live it and I know it well, but I daily have to let my customers know and my staff know we need to preach our mission, because our mission is what makes us different. So all the proceeds from the sales at District 23 go back to support our foundation. And so with the changing times in the world, I can't compete on the best price. You're never gonna come into my store and get the cheapest item because I can't compete on that. But what I can compete on is that customer experience and is doing personal shopping for customers and is having a great shop full of, you know, items that have been hand-picked by myself. So I do both. I dive into the online world, but I will tell you it's very difficult and the strategy is constantly changing. And what worked for me last year is absolutely not working right now. And so I am changing my entire strategy for 2020. So I think it's a bit frightening too. So my customers do shop on Amazon. And you know, I talk to them. I'm there, I work on the floor, and I had somebody come in yesterday. I said, how are you doing on your Christmas shopping? She goes, great, I did it all online. And I'm going, no, don't tell, you know, because it is through customers walking through our doors and spending their money physically with us. That's how we sustain and stay in business. So I'm guilty too. I also shop on Amazon, but what I shop on Amazon for is my laundry soap. And things like that, where it can be shipped to my house and I don't necessarily have to go to Target. But when it comes to trying to buy gifts for the special people in my life, I always do try to shop local because it's so important. It's how we exist.
So, and we've heard, you've mentioned that term, the three of you, multiple times this morning, but Michelle, could you please elaborate just a little bit more on why is shopping local an important thing, and why should this message resonate with us?
So and I don't know, but I want to say if every $100 spent, what is it? $67 goes back to our community.
Anywhere between 65 47 and 67, depending on the margin that the store creates on their product.
Okay, so that money, and, you know, going back to our local community, going to pay like the sales tax, all of those things drive the economic development of our city. And when we don't have those things and customers don't support shopping local, obviously you have to have revenue. You have to have money coming in so you can pay all your bills. If you don't have that revenue coming in, there's a point in time where you can't pay those bills, and that's why you're seeing all these retailers closing left and right, you know, from Sears to Montgomery Wards to all these big box stores that have been around for hundreds of years. Their strategies quit working. They didn't change with the times. And I think as small business owners and entrepreneurs, we're always faced with that. We can't ever rest. We always have to be thinking, what's next? What are we gonna do? How are we gonna turn on a dime? And how can we make our businesses different so that it's attractive to those local shoppers and getting them in the door?
You know, and big box retailers are actually trying to convince you to shop online. So Macy's is a great example. Has anybody been into Macy's this holiday season? Anybody? How many people were working the makeup and perfume area?
I don't think I saw anyone.
Mm-hmm. So a lady that comes here to gets her hair done, she's worked at the Clinique counter for like 30 years. And they schedule one person a shift to work all of makeup, all of perfume. And she's like, they want you to not come in and get it. They want you to order it online because it costs them less to operate if they ship it to you, even at a free rate, than it does for them to pay people to work in that store. Which is frustrating to me because it's like, okay, well, yeah, I'll go and buy the item online, but then it's like, I like to go out and purchase things. I like to be sold. I like to have a connection with the person I'm buying something from. And it's like, if they're doing that, well, then that becomes the perception of what you should do. It's like big box retailers are training you to do it. Target trains you to do it. You can pick it up in the store. Like if it's something you don't want sitting on your porch, like you bought an iPad, whatever, you can have it shipped there and go get it. But they're training you to buy it online because you can buy it online for $100 cheaper. Every big business is training you to do that. And it is hard because we're not only fighting the online only businesses, but we're fighting the other retailers, big box stores, brick and mortar shops who are encouraging you to go online and making it that much easier. So it's, in my opinion, you know, I just had this conversation with a client yesterday who said the same thing. How's your Christmas shopping going? She says, I've got almost all of it done. I did it all online. It was great. What about you? And I said, I don't buy anything online. She goes, really? How do you have time to do that? I said, well, I choose to buy from local businesses here because I know what a difference that makes for a business. And she's like, I never thought of it that way. And I mean, on Small Business Saturday, I went to 15 different places and documented everywhere I went. And I didn't show what I was buying because I bought tons of gifts that day, but showed where I bought things. And I think it really is important to share the experiences that you have there because it does make a difference. Like when people write a review about my business, like I'm making a little Canva about it, I'm sharing it again because it does mean a lot. Like I'm excited, I tell the person that the review's about, they're excited. Like that whole experience you don't get online. Like Amazon doesn't care if you write a review. Those little things make a difference in a local environment.
And Laura, you had something to add?
Well, I just wanted to give the rest of those hard numbers because I think those are important. So it's simply fair. We buy for $1, we sell for $2, which is why we don't have sales. Okay, so real quick, Kohl's, big box stores buy for $1, they sell for 10. And so if they put something 75% off, they're still making 2.5 on the dollar, right? Does that make sense? Y'all are math heads? Okay. So at Simply Fair, it's $47 out of 100 goes back into the local economy because the first $50 goes back across the pond. The other $3 are shipping and taxes and all of that jazz, okay? So $47 goes into the electric bill, goes into the heat bill, goes into the rent, goes into feeding 3 teenagers at my house, okay? That $47 now, let's say we send $10, 15, well, I can tell you that it's about $37 of that goes back into the economy as the bills and expenses out of our little store, okay? So the other $10 goes back to my house. I pay my income taxes on that and all of that jazz, and then maybe I've got $5 to spend, right? That $5 now goes to the local grocery store, goes to the local boutiques, goes to all of these places, and circles back around, because now I hand that $5 to Michelle. She does with it what she's gonna do, and her hair's cute, so she hands it to Jessica. And what they say is that local dollar goes around about 14 times before it spins out of your economy. So now let's go $47. We talked about that, flipping around 14 times before it leaves my local economy. If I have a Kohl's store and I go and spend my $100 at Kohl's because they employ local people, not enough obviously at Macy's, but because they're employing local people at Kohl's, $14 out of my $100 stays in my local economy and starts to circle around. If I shop online and my delivery driver, FedEx, UPS, whoever it is, lives in my town, okay, you caught that. If I'm shopping online and my delivery guy lives in my town, out of the $100 that I spent, $1 is left to spin around 14 times in our economy versus 47 versus 67 if the markup is a little bit different than Simply Fair. You gotta think about that. And I know that's hardcore numbers, but if eventually, if all of us disappear, all of those little local businesses disappear, your city disappears. Because if I don't have employment here, or if my 5 employees don't have employment here, we all have to go somewhere where there's employment. Does that make sense? $1. Grr.
Now I'll take a minute just to open it up to questions. I have a couple more questions, but we'll switch over to the students if they have questions, and then we'll switch back to the rest of the questions. Anthony?
All right, so you guys mentioned, well, one of you guys mentioned that you guys don't have sales. I mean, sorry. So what do you do when it's out of season? Like, is that a big problem of yours, or?
I think it's me who said that. So,
Yeah.
We don't have sales, but we don't buy huge deep. Much like Michelle, if we always say, grab it while it's here, or else you're gonna be pouting later. So if it's something that you want, you better grab it now. And so we've kind of, again, trained our customers to know that it's here today, it's gone tomorrow at Simply Fair. That if you're sitting here in this sweater, that you're probably one of 2 people in Springfield, Illinois that have this sweater. And so that's kind of what we do. We don't buy in huge quantity. We buy in variation. And that's how we work our business. And so, yes, there are some of those things. If I've got something, we call them a dog, by the way. It's laid around long enough, right? It's just laying there. If I have a dog, a lot of times I'm the one who bought it, so I like it. So the dog comes and lays at my house, or I wear it. Or there is some donations that we do. We have a tendency to take those. I come from a little bitty small hometown, and they have a library sale where the kids can come in and buy Christmas for their parents behind a closed door, and all the profits go to the library. And so every November-ish, it's only about a laundry basket of stuff. A laundry basket of stuff goes to that sale, and that's how we work it at our store.
Other questions? Kendrick?
So do you buy from like another organization that compiles all the international artisans, or do you directly buy it from them?
Ish, yes. There's a yes to both of that. Our products are vetted through the World Fair Trade Federation. It's been around since 1946. 1946 was directly after World War II, and artisans were willing to give away whatever they had in an effort to have food, because of course on Maslow's hierarchy, we all know that food would be real important, okay? The other thing is we do personally vet maybe 5%, maybe 3% of our product, because it's very difficult to go into wherever it is on the other side of the pond and into the deep dark and find that little artisan group and make sure they're doing it correctly. And so we lean very heavily on the World Fair Trade Federation to make sure that what we say our products are, they are.
So is there like a database or something that you choose from, like from all these artists?
It's,
How does that work?
well, yes, essentially. I don't even think of them as a database. I know so many of those artisans personally that whenever I roll through the businesses that are all World Fair Trade certified or B Corp certified, I go, oh yeah, John and Harold, and you know. And so yes, there is. If I need one widget of some sort or a different category in my store, I can go to the World Fair Trade Federation and pull up the artisan groups that are vetted, correct?
But I think to answer that question and to clarify a little bit, so she goes to market, I go to market, and so when she goes to market, she goes to a different area in Atlanta than I might, and her area that she goes to are fair trade vendors, am I correct?
Right.
So fair trade vendors, so that then at that point you can check if they're in that federation, do they have that association?
Right.
So we go to trade shows to buy our goods.
In fact, we do this. You really need to go to floor 5, Michelle, that'd
Yes.
be great at your place.
She'll text me and tell me where, like, we help each other.
She's like, Laura, do you have this? I just bumped into so-and-so, you need it, and I'm getting these pictures on my phone. So there, again, that's that.
So I don't go to market because I typically have been with clients. So Michelle goes to market for me and sends me pictures of things that she's not carrying that I, but then she and I both buy a lot online. So there's multiple, like, if you can imagine it as a wholesale marketplace for like an Amazon, but it's all wholesale costs, if you will. All these different vendors sell their items on there, and there are a lot of the vendors.
And you have to buy
that you
6.
see-
I mean, a minimum of 6. So if you want this shirt, you have to buy 2 small, 2 medium, 2 large, and sometimes 2 XL. So you gotta really love it.
Right. And so I typically do most of my buying that way, from directly the vendor or from directly on like the vendor in a marketplace situation. Or she tells me, this is really cool and I think you would love it in your shop or it fit what you have going on. But then there is some overlap. Like it's often that we have the same shirt or the same sweater or whatever, but we have different customers and then we have some that are the same too. And I mean, we very much, I think, working together gets you so much further than it does to be in some competition where it's like, well, why do you have that? Like, for example, Michelle and I partner on stuff all the time. And when I came over for an event and I brought makeup erasers thinking, oh, this is a good item to bring to this event. And I walk in and I look over and there's freaking makeup erasers. And I'm like, Michelle! But it's a great item for her to have too. It doesn't matter that we both have them. There are enough people to shop around. You know, and so it's like very rarely, I mean, it doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes it does, especially with basics, like a black tunic is a black tunic. But then we definitely have things that are our own vibe. Like we joke that everything I carry is plain and everything she carries is pattern, which is very 100% accurate. But we both tried to, mix it up a little bit to round out everyone because there's customers like me, there's customers like her, and then there's also customers who truly care about what it's made of, where it comes from, all of those things too, which we all have a little bit of that in our stores as well. Like our products that we carry, I'm very specific about the ingredients, what's behind the bottle. I focus most of that in our hair care and skincare world. Eminence, our skincare line, for every product we sell, they plant a tree. So I mean, I work more on that side, but then like Michelle has a candle line that very much gives back. Tom's shoes,
Every candle,
these
feeds
shoes
a
that I bought
child.
from her.
Yes.
One pair of shoes for so on. So it is important, I think, to have that balance, and you clearly have made a whole business out of it, which is awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
I think
I'm sorry.
that's fine. Well, I think one of the things that's super important that we're touching on, and I think that it's important for every business owner to understand. So there's lots of boutiques in town. I'm friends with all of those boutique owners because we all have to work together. When you have money to spend, let's say you have $500 to spend for Christmas, you're most likely not gonna come just to Willow and Birch and to this boutique and shop. You're probably going to maybe come here and you may spend $100 here, and then you may go to District 23 and spend $50, and then you may go to her store and you may spend $200, and then you may go to Bella Boutique and spend $75. And so I think
went over
business,
budget.
what's that?
You just went over budget.
Yeah, right, okay. Math,
sorry.
Yes, right, that's a problem, right? So I think that that's important too, is to have a professional relationship and alliance with your fellow business owners, because at that point, then you can start co-marketing to your customers, doing events where, boutique hop. We did a boutique hop last Easter, I think it was, where it was like a card that they filled out, and they got a stamp to each local boutique, and then their name was entered into a drawing, and the whole premise was that, again, pushing the shopping local. So I just like to say that, it's not just about the consumer working with the business. It's about business to businesses working together to create a local economy.
Yes.
Before we take another question, does anyone need to go feed the meter? Is anyone parked on the street? Okay. Please do that now, don't get a ticket. And then Grant with a question.
What's the story behind the name District 23?
So my husband Joel, Tjelmeland is on the Sangamon County Board. And so when I was getting ready to open District 23, I could not come up with a name. And so anyway, I rolled over, it was like 10:30 one night in bed, and I'm like, hey, what district is that building in that I'm gonna open my boutique? And he said District 23, and I'm like, there you go. And so
That's so
the,
cute.
yes.
So it's so good too, because we just talked about this. So she can do like 23% off, or like different
Yes.
things. Like she has a hero program where, like I'm a hero.
She's a hero.
And so you pay X amount of dollars to be a part of the program. You get 23% off of your purchases. So I'm like, that is the best. And like for Black Friday, they did a $23 rack. I'm like, smart, so smart to be able to use that number.
So to go with the question that you were saying about sales, so with small business, it's really difficult. Like we cannot compete on price. So our prices are more expensive. We employ more people, just a lot of different reasons why we can't always compete on price. However, we have to figure out ways that we can compete on price, but still make a profit. So one of the things that I have learned is that my consumer really likes to get a deal. I've never done 23% off store-wide, except like, well, I've never done it, ever, not even on Black Friday. But I do things like a $23 rack. So we bring those lower priced items in where I'm still making my profit margin that I need to make, but then hopefully they'll buy this $23 cardigan and then they'll pay $56 for this shirt. Whereas before, they may have only paid $56 for this shirt, but then I can give an added value of $23. Our hero program that she's speaking of, it's not traditionally spelled hero, like H-E-R-O, it's H and then E, so H-E-A-R-O for ear, so it's got the word ear in it. And the membership, if you want to become a hero, so that money goes back to our foundation, but to become a hero, it costs you $500. So I have customers paying me to shop with me and pay to be a member for $500 or $1,000. And for that investment, then they get 23% off of their purchases for 3 years. That's the only way they're ever gonna get a sale in my store. And they have to pay to get that.
Which if you shop enough, your 23% back
pays for
so
itself.
worth it.
over
Like
and over.
I buy way too much, like
And-
too many things, but
Well,
it's
and
worth it.
my colleagues were like, that's crazy. Nobody's gonna sign up to be a hero. And I was like, I don't know. You don't know until you try. And they do. It's crazy. If you offer a good experience and you're passionate about what you do and we have a great cause and that resonates with people.
Mhm.
Take another question from this side of the room. Connor.
What are the biggest changes you guys have had to implement to stay open, like to compete with online retailers?
You want me to take this one? Okay, so I employ 22 people, and we have to cover 19,000 square feet, right? That's how big our building is. So staffing and payroll is the hugest expense for us as a business. And the laws for minimum wage are changing, so I've always paid slightly above minimum wage, but that above minimum wage as of January isn't gonna be that. So January, it's going up 25, well, it'll be 75 cents, but it's 25 cents for me. So like my part-time people, I paid $9 an hour versus $8.50. So minimum wage is going to $9.25. Then in July, it's going to $10. So that includes all of my apprentices that are training. So I'm paying them while we teach them how to be a great stylist. And then anybody helping and support. Now our front desk team does make a little bit more than that, but regardless, they don't make 15, and that's where that's moving to. So I think that the payroll expense associated with staffing humans to create that experience is so much larger than what people think it is. As an employer, you're paying employment tax on that employee as well. So that I think is my biggest challenge, is making sure that we're staffed to provide the experience, but then also able to pay the bills, because that is another side of it. As far as competing directly with online, Online, you don't really have that. not in the same regard. You can have people working in a warehouse moving boxes around for a very different wage and requirement or expectation of them than what you need people in a store who are creating those experiences for people to do. So I think as far as who you hire and why you hire and how you staff is very different. So much of those purchases can be automated to where a machine is grabbing what you need and putting it in a box and sticking the sticker, and everything that we do has to have a person attached to it.
For us, so I have spent this last year educating myself. Having been a teacher, education is my passion. And one of the things that I realized, a lot of the things that I had been doing weren't working for my business anymore. And that causes sheer panic. As a business owner, like, wait a minute, this has always worked, like, what's going on? It's not because my customer doesn't like me, it's not because we don't have a great product, it's not because we don't offer great service, but it's because online is easy. So what can we do to make things easier for our customers? So a lot of things, like, we'll do personal shopping, we'll deliver packages to our customer. Jessica does the same thing. I needed some hair mousse, it came in, they called me, they said, it's in, I said, I cannot get there. Just ship it to me, I'll pay for the shipping. She texts me that night, she goes, I delivered your stuff, it's on your front door. Oh, and there's a Christmas present for you too. So doing things like that to where we can make the experience easier and better for the consumer. But as a business owner, like this next year, my word for the year, so I always do a vision board at the end of every year for my goals the next year. I'm constantly working on, how I'm gonna do better and up my game, but my word for next year is education. And so how can I educate myself? What can I do different? What strategies can I change in my business? And then teach that to my 38 employees so they embrace it. They help me preach our mission, and they help me with these strategies. We're going back to payroll, 38 people on payroll. So when you're paying 38 people on payroll, it's not just your $10,000 that's payroll, it's the $3,200 that goes with, all the taxes that are on top of that. And then it's very expensive. As a business owner, my husband and I, for our family of four, pay $2,700 a month for our healthcare. $2,700 a month. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with what a house would look like if you had $2,700 a month to spend, but you could have about any kind of house you wanted in Springfield, Illinois, if you wanted a $2,700 a month mortgage payment. And then that comes with a $10,000 deductible. So to answer your question, like, we have to do a lot to keep up with the online competition. It's never ending, and it can be brutal and it can be scary. I find it interesting that we're talking about boutiques and no girls ask a question.
Oh, there's.
All right.
What qualities do you guys look for when hiring?
I'll take this one. One, be able to look me in the eye when you walk through the door. Have enough presence of self to be able to look me in the eye and smile when you walk through the door. I'm looking for someone who is professional in dress, all of those things that you would typically hear. But then I'm also looking for a little bit of a sparkle in the eye. Probably a whole lot of sparkle in the eye. The other thing that I'm looking for is someone who's willing to make a decision, despite the ramifications. What I say when you're an employee at my shop is, there is nothing you can do that I can't fix except be dishonest or tick off a customer. And the thing that ticks off a customer the fastest is putting them in limbo. Make a decision. I don't care if you undersell it or oversell it or what it is, whatever your decision is, if it's not the decision I would have made, it's okay. We'll take care of that later. Just make a decision, make the customer happy, okay? So I'm looking for someone who's willing to take that kind of risk and also who's willing to trust me that at my word, when you make that decision and totally screw it up, it's gonna be okay. Do you see what I'm saying? So I'm looking for someone who has presence and the ability to take risks.
My biggest thing is communication skills. And like even to the basis of like applying for a job, like sending just a resume isn't gonna cut it.
Amen.
Like there needs to be a cover letter, there needs to be a body. We have so many different positions in this building. So when resumes come in and it's just a resume, like I have no clue what the person's even applying for. I don't know if they wanna be a stylist, I don't know if they wanna be the front desk, I don't know if they wanna be an esthetician, a manager, retail person. So like being able to effectively communicate who you are, what you're looking for, what you're passionate about. If you can do that digitally in the application process, then I feel more confident to even bring you in to go to the next step in the sense of, to work our front desk, you are talking to people on the phone, in person, all day long. If you don't like people, this is not gonna be the place for you. So I think that that's a huge thing for me. Like, can you speak to people in a respectful way that is cheery and upbeat? The other two things I look for is people that are honest and people that are positive. I can train you to do any job I want you to do. I can't teach you to be a good person. You either are and want to be, or you don't, and that's okay. We're just not the place for you.
For me, the number one characteristic that I look at, so because I do have multiple hats that I wear, is if I hire a manager or an employee for that matter, you have to be a problem solver. So you cannot come to me with all of your problems because I have all my own problems anyway. And so I have my own problems that I'm trying to solve. So if the computer goes down, don't come to me and say the computer's down. What have you tried? And then come to me with 2 or 3 problem-solving solutions. Michelle, the computer is down. We've restarted it. I called Lori's our tech support person. She can't get it to restart. We have an 800 call into Possum, which is our computer software. What would you like me to do? Having gone through that process. So problem-solving skills is very important to me, and being able to make decisions like what she's saying. But ironically, so I'm hiring right now. And the job market, everybody says we have low unemployment, but then you hear about people saying that they need a job. So I'm a good person to work for. I have high standards, but we're fun. It's a fun environment. So this week I put 2 ads on Indeed, one for a store manager and one for a sales associate. I got 59 applicants and 79 applicants. So many were men, which is completely fine, but a guy had like a daddy shark shirt when I went to a social media profile, and then another one, all of her Facebook profile was posts where she's cussing. And I immediately, the first thing I do is get on social media. I go to Instagram, I go to Facebook, and it is delete, 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 delete on those resumes. If like your profile is offensive, then that's going to be offensive to me or to my customer that walks in the door, and I don't stand for that. So don't think that people aren't doing that because
It's the first thing I look at. When a resume comes in, the first thing I do is pull up your Instagram and pull up your Facebook.
Yep.
Any other questions? Sophie.
Why did you decide to open your boutique here in Springfield?
I grew up in Edinburgh, and so when I opened the salon in the first place, I opened it in Springfield because I didn't want to compete with the people that I had just been working with, and I'm a firm believer I don't ever want to burn the bridge, so I wanted to create my own thing and not take away from what was going there and where I had gotten my start and so on. So I came to Springfield, opened a salon, just chose that simply because it was the big city in accordance with Edinburgh, basically. And this is home. I mean, I love living in Illinois. And I know that in the past couple of years, everyone's like, it's a terrible place to live, the taxes are crazy, and oh my God, the government, But this is where my family is, this is where my friends are, this is my home. So I've lived other places for school, and I travel a ton for work, and it's all great. There's great things to experience, but it's not home.
For me, so I didn't plan to own a boutique. So we were doing this fundraiser called Socks for Sound. So we were hand painting these socks 7 years ago. And so I had all these elves. They were volunteers. And there were these little workshops throughout the city of Springfield. And these women were handcrafting and painting these socks. And then they were donating them to me. We were selling them for $25. And all those proceeds were going back to my foundation. So it went so well the first year that the second year I was like, I think that this is viable and this is a fundraiser that we could start and we could do it all year. January to December, we could sew and cut and paint these socks for next year's fundraiser. But I had to find a place. So anyway, my friend had a piece of property, a house on MacArthur Boulevard, which is where we started. And he said, I'll let you rent that for cheap. And I was like, okay, but I don't need the whole thing. And I said, I only need the upstairs. So we were only using the upstairs of this house. So one of my girlfriends says to me, well, Michelle, you have such a good eye. you should start a store. And I said, what are you talking about? I have 0 retail experience. I'm a teacher. I have no background in business. That is the last thing that I'm gonna do. 2 weeks later, I was on an airplane to Atlanta buying my merchandise. So, you know, I don't know, again, curveballs, just different things, opportunities that life presents. So that was never my intention.
And we had the opportunity to put a bid in on a store that's also fair trade called Just Good Trade in Jacksonville. And so my partner at the time and I put in a bid, and the bid went further north than we were willing to pay. And as we were sitting at the restaurant after realizing that we didn't get the little store in Jacksonville, I kind of looked at her and I said, there are 5 times as many people in Springfield as Jacksonville, and I think for this amount of money that we were willing to pay for that, we could start our own. So we did.
Any final questions?
Got one back there.
I know, just waiting to see everyone else.
And got one here.
I would like to ask a question. Anthony, you asked a question. I'll keep.
So you guys talked a lot about like changing your strategies with the changing times, and not everything always works. And like I'm sure like you find yourself implementing a new thing and figure out that doesn't work either. How do you like? Is it easy to pivot from that and like go to a new strategy, or like how do you mitigate the losses that like you get from like trying that thing and it doesn't work?
It just depends on what it is that you're trying. So right now, a good example, so starting in February, I'm not taking clients anymore, and I'm not gonna be here in the day-to-day. Which we have a salon coordinator who does everything on the back end, and one of the stylists is gonna be taking over being the manager up on the salon floor. But there's a lot of systems that rely on me currently, right? There's a lot of things that when something goes wrong, oh, well, go ask Jess. Well, I'm not gonna be here for them to ask me. So we've implemented a lot of new things. And some of them work and some of them don't. Some of them are like, why are we doing this? Oh, I'm gonna be a sales consultant for Cool Beauty. So the same company I've taught for and educated for the past 7-8 years, they offered me a sales consultant role. So I will be helping salons all over the state of Illinois grow and systemize their business and implement education and product within their salon. So I'll be on the road all over the place, and I'm super excited about it. But of course, there's all those, you know, things to systemize and make run perfectly here. And you know, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Sometimes you have this whole come to Jesus and this is our new plan moving forward. And then some people do it, some people don't. And then you've got to figure out, well, is it my fault? Did I not convey the information appropriately? Was I not direct enough with the message or the vision moving forward? You know, same goes with like even buying stuff. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. You're going to make decisions all the time. And typically entrepreneurs make decisions more quickly without a lot of thought, because typically we don't have a lot of time to think about it. It's like I'm in the moment now, like, oh crap, I've got to order this for holiday, and then it comes in and it's like, well, I didn't know that that's what the picture online didn't look like that. Well crap, we have it now, okay, let's sell it, you know? So things like that happen a lot. Like we buy things, there's this joke about this velvet dress I bought 3 years ago that I'm never gonna hear the end of. Like, it was awful, it was so ugly. It was on the shelf forever. Like finally one of the girls took it and made pillows out of it, because I'm like, okay, this would make a cute pillow, but like I would never wear it. So, you know, I mean, things like that happen, but typically those mess ups are pretty inexpensive, to the tune of $100 for a pack of whatever the item is. Strategies as far as what you're doing and investing a lot of money in, whether it's marketing or employment or those big things, we do take more time to think about that. And it is frustrating when it doesn't go how you plan it, or the people that you're relying on to support you aren't doing what you've asked of them or what they know is their job, you know? So, and then you just have to pivot and turn in what way seems right, you know, and what feels right. And I always make every decision for my business based on employment, systems, decisions about what we're carrying, decisions about my people. If I can sleep at night, then I know I made the right decision. If I was honest about what was really going on, then I made the right decision. There's been multiple times where I've made the very wrong decision, and I've had to say, you know, I screwed up. It's not a good feeling, but it happens. But being able to turn and adjust or adapt to what's going on is a skill set that I feel like we all have based on what's happening currently in the marketplace, in your business, so on.
One of the things that we do, and it has been amazing for my business. So anytime we do an event, so like I have my whole next year, we have 15 events planned for next year. They're already planned. So now I'm putting like all the graphics, the marketing components and pieces together. But after every event, so like Black Friday, I sit down and I have a 3-inch notebook. And so that I've tracked for the last 5 years on Black Friday. What works, what doesn't work, how much beer was drank, how many appetizers, how many Bloody Marys we served, how many clients made purchases, what was the average transaction, so that we can go back and look at that data so that next year, hopefully that we can do it better. So those things that we screwed up on. So you have to be very organized as a business owner, and you can't, for a long time when I was just starting, I just shot from the hip and I guessed, and well, those mistakes can become very damaging very quickly. So being very organized is very important, and taking really good notes so that you can go back and say, no, we're not doing that again. It absolutely did not work. Because many times as business owners, we get really excited about something and we think it's gonna be awesome and it flops. And you have to be able to be pretty humble and be like, okay, well, I tried. At least I tried. It didn't work, but I gave it my best shot.
I remember specifically within the first 2 years of having the business, and that kind of shot from the hip sort of, because when you go to market, it's like being hit with a tsunami of decisions and choices and opportunities, and you can get way excited or way overwhelmed. Anyway, I remember standing in our store one time, and I'm looking at this clothing item. I had done everything I could do to get that piece to sell. And I was really beating myself up about it. Well, we have a woman who works for us who's in her mid-70s, and she's an educator. And I've always been a straight A student. And she looks at me and she says, how much did you waste there? And I said, I was at the point of tears over this, about $200. And she says, mm-hmm. How much product did you buy last year? Wholesale. How much product? I wasted $200. How much product did you buy last year? And I said, about $188,000 worth of wholesale. And she says, and this would be your error? And I said, yes. She goes, still got an A, move on. And I was like, okay. So there's that. She taught me to pivot. The pity party is the most expensive party you can have, and you've heard that, right? And so she taught me to pivot in that moment. And a part of a pivot is the ability to admit that you were wrong, forgive yourself, ask for forgiveness, and move on. So that was one of the skill sets that lady taught me, so I'll forever grateful.
Wonderful. Laura, Michelle, Jessica, thank you so much for being with us this morning. Please, everyone, take a minute.